Hello YouTube, MTheRelics here, and today I'm bringing you guys a commentary. The gameplay that you're watching in the background is a 72-5 domination on the map of Redwood. I'm using a Shiva. Get my streaks a fair few times this game, go an absolute tear. My streaks do really well, particularly my Wraith. They go absolutely ham, get me a lot of kills. And I'm using a Shiva. The attachments I'm using on it is reflex, quick draw, stock, long barrel, and high caliber, I believe. I'm not entirely sure because this is kind of an old gameplay. But what I wanted to talk about in this commentary is if the next Call of Duty or if Infinity Ward were to release this particular game, what should they do? So what I'm talking about is the Modern Warfare collection. Will they remaster the Modern Warfare trilogy for the next generation of consoles? I sincerely hope so. You know, I've been wanting the Modern Warfare trilogy remastered ever since the new consoles have came out. Basically, COD 4 is dead and MW2 isn't too far off. You know, they're overrun with a lot of hackers. It's very hard to find lobbies unless you're American or maybe the UK. But basically, if you're outside those two areas, you won't find a game for COD 4. MW2, it's very difficult now. You know, a year ago you could find some TDM lobbies, but that's just about it. MW3 still has a decent player base, but it's dwindling. You know, it's getting smaller and smaller as time goes on, and there are a fair few hackers in that game because, you know, Infinity Ward, Activision, they stopped showing support for the older games. And they just kind of get overrun by modders and hackers, and you know, it makes it so you can't enjoy the older Call of Duty games. So I never got to play COD 4, so that's a main reason why I want the Modern Warfare trilogy remastered, so I could go back, play the campaign of COD 4. It's the only COD campaign I haven't played from COD 4 onwards, that is. And you know, I'd really like to play the multiplayer of that game. Modern Warfare 2, you know, I played it out of its prime, and really I can't say I got to enjoy its multiplayer as much as I should have. You know, I was playing at a time when the servers weren't so great because there weren't a lot of people playing. Being an Australian, it's quite difficult to find lobbies, and you know, I was playing it when everyone else knew what they were doing. I had no idea. It was basically just overrun by trick shotters and hackers. You know, Modern Warfare 3 is my absolute favorite Call of Duty game of all time. I absolutely love MW3, and I'd love to see it remastered because I would love to just play Modern Warfare 3 and make it the only Call of Duty I could play, but unfortunately, because of the lack of support, lack of player base, you know, I just don't really think that it's worth going back to as much anymore. But what I want to talk about is if these games are remastered, I'm really hoping they are, but I don't see it being the Call of Duty title for 2016. Perhaps in the future they may remaster them, but I don't think it'll happen. But if they are remastered, what I think needs to be discussed is whether Infinity Ward should change these three games. So obviously they're going to change it. They're going to update the graphics to, you know, 1080p, 60 FPS, and you know, just give everything a bit of a makeup go so COD 4 doesn't look as drab, and improve the lighting, and the cutscenes of the campaign is an important thing to note. Make sure the games run a lot more smoothly on this generation of consoles, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. So obviously they're going to do a typical remaster where they improve everything graphically, but what I pose is, do you guys think they should go back and fix the things that were wrong with those games? Because admittedly, as much as we all love Modern Warfare 2, COD 4, and MW3, they aren't perfect games. They did have issues with them. MW2 probably more so than most, and it would be a big decision if Infinity Ward decided to remove some of the things that probably shouldn't have been in Modern Warfare 2 in the first place, because then you'll have people, you know, who will say, I want the game exactly how it was, you know, back in the old generation of consoles. I don't want anything changed. But I really don't think that's the best way to go about it, because I think Infinity Ward, if they remaster these games, they should learn from their mistakes, and they should try and make the older games better. Now, obviously, they shouldn't go overboard, but, you know, there are certain things that they could definitely improve. Now, for example, COD 4 is considered a perfect game, but they probably could get away with adding some score streaks into that game, some more kill streaks, because they only have the 357. Now, it's not a massive call to really add, you know, maybe like just a handful more streaks, or maybe chuck in an AC-130 in the game. You know, I don't know how that'd work for the spawn system or whatnot, but, you know, it wouldn't hurt to add some kill streaks into that game. I know that's probably an unpopular opinion. I never played the game in its core, so I really can't say whether I think it would ruin the game or not. But a better example probably is Modern Warfare 2. The one-man army noob tubing fiasco was really broken. Like, I was a witness of it. I did play during a time when, you know, noob tubing was a thing, and basically, for those guys who didn't know, there was a perk you could run called Danger Close, which made explosive damage, it increased explosive damage by a fair bit, and there was a grenade launcher attachment that you could put on your weapon, and then One Man Army was a piece of equipment like a grenade that you could use, except you, instead of like being lethal or anything, you just swap class. So you could basically have 5 noob tubing classes and as soon as you ran out of ammo, you could one-man army and swap to your next class, so you'd have an extra 2 grenade launcher bullets, and that was so ridiculously overpowered. Like, you guys have no idea. You're getting killed across the map, off spawn, you know, so frequently, because people knew how all those spawn things worked. And if some guy was just running around with a noob tube and you got into a gunfight with him, you were dead. Like, all you had to do is get that launcher off in somewhat close proximity to where you are, and you're dead, right? And some people may argue that if you take that away, it takes the fun factor away from MW2, what made it great in the first place. But I really don't see it that way. I think the bullshit things, if the games are getting remastered, they're basically getting remade. They can make them right, and I'm not saying they should go ahead and take all the fun, like suck all the fun out of these old games, but, you know, just the broken aspects of things, you know, should be taken into consideration when they remaster it. And another example, they could improve the weapon balancing. MW2 and MW3 was quite perfect in my opinion, but perhaps COD 4, I know a lot of people complained about the M16 being overpowered, but, you know, it's a fine line, because if Infinity Ward did remaster them, they'd probably go the safe route and, you know, not touch them, just leave them as they are. But which would be a smart thing to do in theory, like right off the bat. But then if people started complaining about certain weapons, you know how the Call of Duty community is now, they just complain about everything. Do you really think they'll go ahead and try and make an effort to improve the game by, you know, patching things like buffing certain weapons, nerfing certain streaks, whatever? So, you know, let me know in the comment section below if the Modern Warfare trilogy were to be remastered. Would you want them to change some of the things from those games, or would you just like them to leave it purely as it was on the old generation of consoles? So anyway, thanks for listening to this commentary, and I'll see you guys in the next video.